Hello, Suns fans. This is Suns Latest. I am Rich Rubin. As of this recording, 909 subscribers to Suns Latest on Fan Arch. Thank you so much for that. Over 900 on our way to 1,000. Thank you so much for watching and commenting and telling me that you love Suns Latest and telling me the things that need improvement. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you for correcting me when I get names wrong. I will always get names wrong because I'm too impatient, but that's the way it goes. So, the quote of the day: the survival rate for competitors is much higher than complainers. Avery Johnson, this guy on the KJ poster. Avery Johnson, known as the Little General, won a title with the Spurs as a player, as a point guard, and then I think he won a title with them as their coach or an assistant coach. I'm thinking he did it as a coach. Avery Johnson was a very steady and very good, just this cut below all-star level point guard, and really steady in the David Robinson and then eventually the Tim Duncan years with the San Antonio Spurs. And that guy played a long time and had a nice thing to say about everybody. He was one of the more endearing players in the league and a really good coach and an absolute leader, and he did not complain. He just competed, and a lot of times he kicked everybody's ass. And he was one of those guys you didn't see coming, and that's a really good quote from him. So the sad news around the NBA, and this really is a bummer, because he's not talked about in NBA great circles, in Legends of the Game circles, and he really should be a lot more. Hall of Famer Lenny Wilkens passed away over the weekend. He was 88. He's in the Hall as a player and as a coach, which is rare. He was also a player-coach, like Bill Russell and Dave Cowens for about 2 seconds. He was a player-coach for the Sonics for a long time and for the Blazers in his last year as a player. It's so rare to be a player-coach, especially into the 70s. It just didn't happen that much. 9-time All-Star, 1971 All-Star Game MVP. Lenny Wilkens was one of the greatest point guards of all time, and you almost never hear his name. He was a textbook point guard. He led the Sonics to their only title in 1979 as NBA Coach of the Year in 94. Let's get something straight. When a team moves, like Sonics moved to OKC and become the Thunder, I know the record books are going to include the Sonics. So like in the Sonics record book, even though Kevin Durant only played one season for the Sonics, he's like one of the Sonics' all-time leading scorers. I think when a team moves a city and changes the name, that's the end of that team. And the records shouldn't reflect what happened in that previous city. Same thing for the Utah and New Orleans Jazz. I don't like that Lenny Wilkens is, it's weird. People will say, well, OKC just won the title last year. That's their second title, but that wasn't a Seattle Supersonics title. Maybe I'm an old head, and maybe I'm grumpy, and maybe get off my lawn, but that's just kind of how I feel about it. So he leads the Sonics to their only title in 1979, and he was NBA Coach of the Year in 94. Third winningest coach in NBA history with 1,332 games as coach of the Sonics, Blazers, Cavs, Hawks, Raptors, and the Knicks before he retired in 2005. Lenny Wilkens was in demand until he retired. Anytime he either quit a job or got fired from a job for some weird reason, there was another one waiting for him at the very next season. No question about it. Lenny was that accomplished. He coached 2,487 games, the most in NBA history. He also won an Olympic gold as coach of the 1996 United States team. He is one of only 5 men to be inducted into the Hall as both player and coach. Listen to the company this guy's in: John Wooden, Bill Sharman, Tom Heinsohn, Bill Russell. Lenny's up there, man. He was named to the league's 75 greatest players and 15 greatest coaches list. In 1967-68, he was second in league MVP voting to Wilt. He was 175 pounds, barely 6 feet tall, and he always got to the hoop or made the perfect pass. A pure point guard. Lenny Wilkens, despite his size, despite his demeanor, he could play in today's game, no problem. Colin Gillespie, Steve Nash, Isaiah Thomas can play in today's game. Lenny Wilkens could play in today's game. Soft-spoken in everything he did. It's how he played. It's how he coached. Steve Kerr, Detlef Schrempf, Rick Carlisle, and hundreds others. Many more were coached by him or worked with him, had the nicest things to say about him. So rest in peace to NBA legend Lenny Wilkens at 88. Okay, so guess what happened? The Phoenix Suns won their third in a row. It was against the Pelicans, and they didn't have Zion. But still. And Jalen Green out 6 weeks after re-aggravating his hamstring on Saturday's win against the Clippers. He's not going to be reevaluated for a while. So it's just business as usual. Yes, it was lightning in the bottle, the first game against the Clippers at home. We're going to have to wait on Jalen Green. That being said, Zion Williamson was also out with a hamstring issue. Suns win 121 to 98. Have you looked at the differential in the scores of our wins? We don't squeak by. Just, just remember that. Suns are 6-5 and 5-1 at home. Third in a row. Remember how I and a lot of others were putting together a trade package for Warrior forward Jonathan Kuminga that included Nick Richards, Royce O'Neal, and who's that other guy? Oh yeah, Grayson Allen. Yeah, let's put a huge pin in that and talk about our most consistent players this season, who have been Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen by a mile. Holy crap, Grayson went off with a career high 42 points in 28 minutes, 12 for 17 from the floor, and 10 for 15 from three, a new Suns record. Grayson had made 9 threes in a game 3 separate times. This is the new record. And why wouldn't it be Grayson Allen? The guy's a freaking clinic. 8 for 10 free throws. Absolutely destroyed the Pelicans. No matter what they did, Grayson got a 3. For the second game in a row, we shot over 40% from 3. That'll always make things easy. 19 for Devin Booker, who was 8 for 13 from the floor. And he's now made 25 free throws in a row. 0 for 2 from 3. Second game in a row, he hasn't connected from deep. But I think he saw what was happening with Grayson. And it was like, that's the beautiful thing about being so good like Book. It's like, you know what? This guy's going off. Feed him the ball. And he did. Quick 20 minutes from Mark Williams, who, even though it's not being said, it's kind of like, oh, no. He's not on a minutes restriction. Mark Williams is on a minutes restriction. Very quietly. We're not making a big deal out of it. But it was the kind of game where Oso got some quality floor time. He was in there for 19 minutes. Dylan Brooks picked up the slack with 18. Ryan Dunn is getting really good at moving without the ball offensively. And that is going to be his game until he learns how to make a 3. He's not where I wanted him to be on 3-point shots. He did improve in preseason and summer league, but it's not translating to the big stage right now. We'll get him there. He'll get there. He's really so... I know I keep talking about Ryan, but I really like his game. Quality 8 minutes from Nick Richards, who grabbed 5 rebounds, and our two-headed point guard Goodwin and Gillespie combined for 9 assists, 10 points, and 6 rebounds. Colin Gillespie finally had a pedestrian rebounding night with only 1. Jordan Goodwin had 5, so you do the math. Steady Royce O'Neal with 14, 5, and 50% shooting on threes. We rebounded the Pelicans 42-40. We had 18 turnovers. I want to get that below 14. I want to get that below 14 before we're at 20 games consistently. I can't feel bad for the Pelicans because only a few years ago they were really feeling themselves, and that little punk Alvarado, who I like, he's good, but he was like really I know they were just playing hard against the Suns in the playoffs, but it felt disrespectful. Am I being too sensitive about it? It just felt like they were like, we're better than you, and then we beat them. And I know it was a couple of years ago, and I know half the guys aren't on our team anymore that they were doing it to. I just felt like it's like you're young and you're upstarts and you're not as good as you think you are. But they were building a pretty good team. And I'd take Herb Jones and Trey Murphy Jr. Trey Murphy the third any day. I'd take those guys in a second. Rookie Derek Queen looks pretty good too. But they need to move on from Zion. They're holding out for Zion. It was supposed to be him and Ingram. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They need to move on from Zion and see what they can get because this is his career, and it needs to be somebody else's problem. So good win for the Suns. I think we were all pretty sure we were going to win. I just don't want to get cocky because we're still trying to figure out who we are. But the last 3 games, if it's any indication, we are gelling pretty well, and it's really nice to see. And I have to take it back. If we didn't keep Royce, if we had traded those guys for Kuminga, yeah, we might have. It might not be much different, but it's still really amazing to see Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen just absolutely throttling other teams right now with their consistent play. It's really cool. The Suns are at Dallas on Wednesday, and the Mavericks are having struggles of their own. So we'll do a preview tomorrow. All right, let's get to your comments. Z4CKS Girl. Okay, that's an odd handle, but I don't know how to say it any other way. Coach Ott and Booker creating a culture with this team. It is fun watching them play. Hashtag Suns up. Everybody's helping create that culture. It starts with Ott. It starts with Book. But, I mean, did you see Grayson Allen tonight? Do you see what Ryan Dunn is doing on the defensive end? Do you see how Mark Williams is just becoming a really solid starting center? Everybody's contributing. Dylan Brooks with 18 points and just the most solid defense and just getting in anybody's jersey. It is really, really cool to see. This is a fun team and a lot more interesting than last year. Doug Drew too. The best ability is availability. Yeah, and that's not a slight on somebody like Kawhi Leonard, who is just simply, this is going to be his career from now on. You know, he's in his mid-30s and he's just. I was talking about availability, and a lot of coaches have said, you know, that's part of being talented, being able to stay healthy. Now, if you got, you know, chronic stuff happening to you, and Kawhi Leonard, since his Spurs days, has had issues. He's just simply had them. So as great as he is, as great as he was, and the heroics that he's shown, he's not available. So it does take away from how great he is, because you do have to be available. That's a big. I really do believe in that. The best ability is availability. Nico Cisco, 3 in a row. Here we go. I got book dropping 40 McNuggets. Yeah. Well, you know, hey, one son dropped over 40, and book helped him get there. Najib talks Suns. I think you are new to Suns latest, so welcome, my friend. Refs were on something else. That was about the Clipper game. Refs were on something else. Almost allowed Clippers to come back, but Grayson and Royce hit some massive threes in that fourth quarter. Booker should have got his first career triple-double. Book has a career triple-double, but it was in the playoffs against the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals a few years ago. This is from me. As Coach Ott said in his post-game interview, no excuses. And that's a really good attitude to have regarding what's going on with the refs in the NBA. I agree. That being said, just because the current crop of refs aren't named Donaghy and Foster doesn't mean they're not up to something. Remember what I said about it looked like the Suns were about to blow out the Clippers early in the third, then a BS offensive foul on Book. That should have been an and one for Book, and then a 3 by the Clippers and another offensive call on Book. It was the right call, but it was right after the BS call. It was like, you know, maybe let him play on that one. Watch every third quarter when it looks like somebody's going to blow somebody out. Watch what happens. Like clockwork, you will notice the refs trying to alter the game, if they can. At the Sergio 1021, another New Suns latest commenter. Hello, welcome. Sergio, Clippers were supposed to be a top 5 team in the West. Yeah, maybe like 6 to 8 years ago. Yeah, maybe when Paul George was healthy. ESPN and every other somewhat credible NBA media outlet had the Clippers causing problems in the West, while the Suns would be lucky to win 25 to 30 games, especially ESPN. And they ran with the KD and Beal are gone, so new coach, no name players, injury-prone players, no direction, no draft books. Devin Booker shouldn't be playing point. That was the only thing they got right. Narrative, and that we would be one of the worst teams in the league. It's pathetic because it was pretty clear that people just started ignoring what the Suns had, and they didn't look at guys like Gillespie or the fact that Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal are really solid, steady veterans who, if needed, can really fill it up. Proof tonight. Or a really good hustling rookie like Rasheer Fleming, or the improvement of Ryan Dunn, or the possibility of, because of our amazing training staff, Mark Williams might be feeling better, or Dylan Brooks setting the tone of and culture on defense. They looked past all of that stuff. All the experts looked past all of that stuff and said, well, KD and Beal are gone, and you got a new coach. Screw all of you. You blew it. You blew it. You were wrong. Thank you. Nice comments. Thank you very much, guys. All right. I knew I blew off the Hustler edition the other day because we had so much to talk about that amazing win in Los Angeles against the Clippers. But Legend of the Day, Hustlers edition, thought of by Suns commentator Nevetsov, born in San Mateo out of Stanford University, picked 7th overall in 1975 by the New Orleans Jazz. A 7-foot, 235-pound center, sometimes listed at 6'11". I thought he was more like 7'2". Rich Kelly. Great college player. He was a double-double machine for the Cardinal when he played at Stanford. Played 11 seasons in the NBA from 75 to 86. Spent 2 glorious years, 1980 to 82 with the Suns. For the short time he was with us, Rich Kelly was arguably the Suns' most popular player. Off the bench, unorthodox, skinny, gleaming white dude with a big old bushy mustache and floppy hair. Long arms, just he looked like an octopus. he didn't. Yes, he was tall. He was in shape. He could run. He didn't look strong. He didn't look like he understood basketball. The guy was as effective as anybody. Completely unorthodox, completely finesse player, really good around the rim. For somebody that gangly, he knew exactly where he was at all times. It didn't look like it. He always had this concerned look on his face when he was playing, but he was gritty, and he hustled, and he wasn't what you would call a tough guy. He wouldn't get in anybody's face. He wasn't that kind. He just wasn't a dirty player. He made up for it with really good defense, long arms. He could block shots. He got good position. He was an excellent rebounder considering he was so tall, and he wasn't that bulky of a guy. He was better than we thought he was going to be. In fact, Rich Kelly was better than everybody thought he was going to be. And he is the epitome of the perfect backup center. You did not lose a step when Alvin Adams sat down and Rich Kelly came in. He had to start every now and then when Alvin Adams got injured. Rich was part of the first Suns team to win the Pacific Division title in 1980, 81. He always looked like he was figuring stuff out as he went, but he was a really effective offensive player. And again, offensive rebounding and around the basket skill and hustling. He was the 7-footer that was on the floor diving for a loose ball, and a really nice guy. And yeah, I know he went to Stanford, but he was a freaking brainiac. One of the best interviews in the league, one of the best senses of humor in the league, and never complained. Never heard about him going this guy or that guy. He just went out there and he played hard. And I think there was something about him understanding that, I'm not the most athletic guy. I'm probably not going to last that long in the NBA. How about a decade? I think his being humble and understanding his limitations made him almost limitless. And no, he wasn't an all-star. And no, he wasn't technically a starting center, but in a pinch, he did just fine. And he's the kind of guy you want. He's another glue guy for the team, and everybody loved Rich Kelly. He earned his MBA at Stanford after he retired. Been involved in numerous small businesses and startup companies as an operator, owner, and investor. Always showed up, always played as hard as anyone. Did not get injured. Loved by his coaches, teammates, and this Suns fan very much. Signed a few pieces of paper for me. Rich Kelly, your Suns Hustler of the Day. Suns Legend of the Day, Hustler Edition. So another good win, 3 in a row. We're at the Mavericks on Wednesday. I can't thank you enough for getting us over 900 subscribers. Become one if you're not already. Keep commenting if you don't want to. It's totally fine. We're all Suns fans here, and it doesn't matter anyway. Suns against the Mavericks on Wednesday. Thanks for watching Suns Latest. I'm Rich Rubin. Go Suns.